Aaron Rodgers took a bold step by deciding to stay with the Green Bay Packers this year and signed a contract extension earlier this year. However, shortly after the ink had dried on his contract, his star wide receiver was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders for a couple of draft picks. Rodgers was initially undecided about his future and was considering retirement, but changed his mind and chose to remain with the Packers. His relationship with the organization has been strained at times since the Packers surprised him by drafting quarterback Jordan Love in 2020, a call made by General Manager Brian Gutekunst. After leading the Packers to 3 consecutive 13-4 seasons without winning a Super Bowl, losing 2 NFC Championship games and 1 in the divisional round, there were many speculations that he would leave the Packers to join a team with more offensive power. During the offseason, the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams inquired about Rodgers, but the Packers took their stance that he wasn't for sale. With a lot of reports coming out about his future, Rodgers promised he would decide his future promptly, but stressed that he wasn't interested in a rebuild, which seemed a possibility as the Packers entered the offseason $45 million over the salary cap. When it became obvious that he was the Packers' best option at quarterback, the team started clamoring for his return. Head coach Matt LaFleur said the team would be crazy not to want him back here. Despite more than a decade of postseason failure, he ultimately decided to stay, communicating his decision through McAfee in a tweet. He signed a $150.815 million 3-year deal, making him one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the NFL. Fast forward to a few months, and Rodgers may already be regretting his decision to stay with the Packers. And if the past few years have shown us anything, this decision might be a mistake. The Packers lost their first game 23-7 to the Minnesota Vikings. They lost some important players coming into this season, and it is to be seen if they can put a similar performance to last season. Why did Rodgers stay with the Packers? Did he stay for money, or perhaps a Super Bowl title? How does his stay with the Packers affect his season? Let's find out. Rodgers was drafted in the 2005 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers. He believed he was going to be selected much earlier and even wanted to play for his childhood team, the San Francisco 49ers, who had the first overall pick. However, he was drafted much later as the 24th overall pick as the 49ers chose another quarterback, and other teams before the Packers had more pressing needs than a quarterback. He spent his rookie season as the backup quarterback behind Brett Favre and didn't see much action that season, with most of his action in the preseason. He made his debut against the New Orleans Saints, coming on in the fourth quarter in a 52-3 win. At the end of the 2005 season, the Packers hired Mike McCarthy as the new head coach. McCarthy worked closely with Rodgers to improve various aspects of his game and helped Rodgers change his release point to give him a smoother release. Rodgers saw some improvements in the 2006 season, but was still barely involved. In 2007, Rodgers stepped in for Favre in the second quarter of a game against Dallas Cowboys and completed 18 passes with no interceptions for 201 yards and 1 touchdown pass, but was sacked 3 times. Brett Favre announced his retirement in March 2008, opening the quarterback position for Rodgers to fill. And although Favre decided to come out of retirement, he was traded to the New York Jets, which automatically meant that Rodgers was the starting quarterback. In his first season as a starter, Rodgers quickly established himself in the NFL. He passed for 4,038 yards and threw for 28 touchdowns and only 13 interceptions. He signed a 6-year contract extension in October that year and finished the season 8-10, missing the playoffs. Rodgers recorded his first comeback in the opening game of the 2009 season, completing a 50-yard touchdown pass in the final minutes of the game to help his team to a 21-15 victory. He was awarded NFC Offensive Player of the Month that month. The Packers finished the season 11-5 to secure a wild-card playoff spot. He finished the season much better than in 2008, with a 64.7% pass completion. Rodgers and the Packers lost in overtime to the Arizona Cardinals in a 51-45 game. Due to his regular season performance, he made the Pro Bowl as the third quarterback for the NFC. Rodgers helped the Packers to a 2-0 start in the 2010 season. However, they lost 3 of their next 4 games, bringing their record to 3-3. By the end of Week 14, the Packers were 8-6 and needed to win their next 2 games to qualify for the playoffs. Rodgers turned the team around, and they won their final 2 games to qualify for the playoffs through a wild-card berth. In the playoffs, they defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 21-16 in the wild-card round and blew out the Atlanta Falcons 48-21 in the divisional round. with Rodgers completing 31 of 36 passes for 366 yards and 4 touchdowns. They won the NFC Championship 21-14 against the Chicago Bears, earning a trip to the Super Bowl. Rodgers produced an MVP-worthy performance in the Super Bowl to earn his team a 31-25 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers and was named the Super Bowl MVP for his performance. Rodgers would go on to win the regular season MVP 4 times in 2011 and 2014, and 2 back-to-back MVPs in 2020 and 2021. He is third on the NFL's all-time regular season career passing rating list. He also has the lowest passing interception percentage in NFL history throughout the entire 2010s. He has won the most regular season MVPs, surpassing Peyton Manning, who sits second with 3 regular season MVPs. Aaron Rodgers is considered by many experts and players to be one of the greatest and most talented quarterbacks of all time. When Rodgers signed a 3-year contract extension, he could not have imagined that the Packers would trade wide receiver Davante Adams, and without him, Rodgers could potentially be up for a tough season. After his Super Bowl win in 2011, Rodgers and the Packers are just 7-9 in the postseason and have lost 4 times at home in the playoffs. The 2021 Packers had some of the best players around Rodgers, and if he couldn't get it done last season, there is no guarantee that he will get the Packers back in the Super Bowl. But why did he stay? Some feel that Rodgers' decision to stay with the Packers was solely because of money, with the 38-year-old receiving a huge contract extension. His contract has caused issues with the team's salary cap in the past, and that money will mean nothing if he continues the trend of only regular season success. Perhaps Rodgers didn't consider that the Packers were going to trade Davante Adams, or he felt that he could still challenge for the Super Bowl title one more time, considering how strongly his team finished last season before the playoffs. Rodgers has won 4 regular season MVPs, but just 1 Super Bowl title. With quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and especially Tom Brady having multiple Super Bowl titles, he's going to want that for himself. However, that might be hard for him considering that the guy who was key in his last 2 MVP reigns won't be on his team. The Packers have also lost a number of key players in offense and defense, making his job even harder. Furthermore, considering the money he is on, there will be huge pressure on him to deliver this season, and not just in the regular season, but also in the playoffs. Some fans are starting to believe he's just a Favre clone with better stats, and unless he wins a Super Bowl with the Packers, that might be the legacy he leaves behind by the end of his time with the Packers. Perhaps Rodgers should have retired, or even requested a trade to a team with a better offense. After just 1 game, the Green Bay Packers look like a team in trouble, and Rodgers might already be regretting his decision to stay. They lost their first game 23-7 to the Vikings, and the Packers didn't score until the 4th quarter, which shows clearly how the absence of Davante Adams has impacted the team. The game on Monday night against the Bears could not have come at a better time for Rodgers, considering he has won 6 straight starts against them. He even had a record of 16 touchdowns without an interception between 2013 and 2015. If Rodgers can get on the same frequency with his rookie receiver Christian Watson, they would have a chance of getting past the Bears. However, the Bears are no pushover. Was Rodgers blinded by money? Could Rodgers be regretting his choice to stay with the Packers? And how do you see this season playing out for Aaron Rodgers? Let me know in the comments section.